Welcome to the module on the sample practitioner exam paper. Now, in the sample examination, we have a sample exam paper. So when you undertake the practitioner exam, there would be a scenario that they would kind of give you. Now, the practitioner exam would be a 2.5-hour exam, and they would provide you with a scenario booklet. This booklet contains the broader context of the case study upon which you would need to answer the question. Now, there would be accompanying questions. And besides the general scenario, there would be some additional information that you would need to look into before you answer the questions pertaining to additional information. Now, in the practitioner exam, you would be given 4 questions, and each question is worth 20 marks, and you're given a maximum of 80 marks in the paper. The pass mark is 50%. Within each question, the syllabus area to which the question refers is clearly stated. And the exam is to be taken with the support of the Agile Project Management Manual only. It's going to be an open book examination, so good to kind of have the book handy with you. Now, this is a sample scenario, so they would kind of give you a context, a general context about a particular project. So in this sample paper, you have a business called Roland's Business Relaunch Project. It is a fictional kind of situation. So they would kind of give you a context about what this particular project is all about. So they would give you a context about the organization. For example, the first paragraph talks about Roland Books, owned by a couple of individuals, Les and Amanda Rolands. What kind of business it is? It is a bookshop in a very thriving market town. It stocks a wide range of books to satisfy the very different demands of local people and the tourist trade. And then they would kind of give you something along the lines of what has happened over the years. Roland's has expanded the business and now occupy 4 neighboring shops. So good to kind of make some quick note of the context of the company, their business, the nature of work, what is their primary objective. Good to kind of make note of some of the objectives. So they would give you the overall objectives of the project. So please take a note of the overall objectives. And then they would kind of talk about how the project is split. So this particular example, the project is split into 3 evolutionary development time boxes. And what are the artifacts or requirements that are catered to in each of the time boxes are clearly laid out over here. So this basically constitutes your general scenario. So in the exam, when they kind of ask you a question, if they do not kind of hint at any particular additional information, the assumption is you need to answer based on the general scenario information. But certain questions might have additional information. For example, question number 1 on techniques. If the question paper prompts you to read additional information pertaining to question number 1, that's when you would need to come back again to the scenario and read through the additional information pertaining to the scenario. So question number 1 is on techniques, and this is the additional information. Question number 2 is the syllabus area on peoples and roles, and this is the additional information pertaining to question 2. Question number 3 has got some additional information pertaining to syllabus area 3, which is planning and controlling. And question number 4 covers the syllabus area called life cycle and products. And this is the additional information pertaining to question number 4. So unless and until the question paper prompts you to read through additional information, I would recommend that you do not read it for the interest of time. But please make sure that you read the general scenario because that would be the general context upon which the practitioner exam would be tested. Now let me kind of take you through some of the practical examination questions. So there are 4 syllabus areas that are kind of covered in the exam. Question number 1 covers questions pertaining to techniques. Question number 2 pertaining to people and roles. Question number 3 pertaining to planning and control. And question number 4 pertaining to life cycle and products. So let's kind of do a few questions pertaining to each of the questions. So question number 1, syllabus area technique. Part A of the question, this kind of carries 3 marks. So this is one type of questions you would be asked. You would be given a couple of columns. Column 1 would be a list of some of the activities performed by a particular team. So in this particular case, it's a solution development team within time box 1. Column 2 is a subset of steps within a time box. So for each activity in column 1, indicate the step in column 2 to which it is applied. So I would kind of recommend you to pause the video, take your time, read through the scenario, and make sure that you answer these questions. Now, what I would kind of give you the answers, and in fact, detailed answers are also provided to you in the slides. So in this particular example, the first one, to develop a print-ready version of the catalog is kind of mapped with it's mapped with number C, which is refinement. Now, after kickoff, to decide products and acceptance criteria and investigation, refinement is where most of the development and testing work is done. So the answer for 1 is C. The answer for the second one is B, which is investigation. And the aim of investigation is to provide a firm foundation for the work to be carried out. This will entail confirming the detail of requirements before going into the development process. And the third one, the answer is A, to agree how many sample designs will be produced. So this is kickoff, a short session for the solution development team to understand the time box objectives and accept them as realistic. And the last one, question number 4, the answer is B, investigation. Again, the aim of investigation is to provide a firm foundation for the work to be carried out. So 1 is C, 2 is B, 3 is A, and the 4th one is B. And we've got detailed answers in terms of the rationale for each of the questions. So if you have any gaps in your thinking, so you could pause it and read through the rationale to close those gaps in thinking. So let's move on to the second part. Same question, question number 1, techniques, part B. So this has got 3 marks. So this is another type of question that you could expect in the exam. So this would be more of a multiple choice question. So they would give you a brief context about the question. One of the overall objectives for the Roland project is to ensure there is a professional, consistent, and coherent message on all externally presented media at the launch. This requires liaison with the external marketing company working on the new RCL brand in order to finalize requirements and sign off designs. Now, there has been some disagreement among the team about what is considered to be professional, consistent, and coherent. The project manager has decided to arrange a facilitated workshop to clarify this issue and to build some consensus among the team. Answer the following questions about a facilitated workshop arranged by the project manager. Question number 1, which action should the PM take when preparing for the workshop? And the correct answer is B, because workshop facilitator should be trained but also independent of the project. So B is the right answer. Question number 2. When preparing for the workshop, which of the following should the PM provide to the workshop facilitator? The answer is C. A factor found to greatly improve the success of facilitated workshop is the thorough preparation by the workshop facilitator and participants before the workshop starts. Question number 3. Workshop facilitator could not get the team to agree a shared understanding of the terms professional, consistent, and coherent. Which action should the workshop facilitator take? The right answer for this one is C, because decisions and agreements that are not forced, if the participant cannot agree on a point within the workshop facilitator should recognize this outcome and elicit from the group the appropriate action to remedy the shortfall. So we've got detailed answers laid out for you on this particular slide. So let's move on to part C of question number 1, and this carries 4 marks. So this is where, if you could recollect, the question is prompting you to read the additional information. So in the actual exam, at this particular point, you need to go back and read the additional information pertaining to question number 1. So using the additional information provided for this question, the scenario booklet, answer the following questions about using Moscow for assigning priorities. Now, each of the following questions include actions that could be taken to resolve the business visionary's concern, but only 2 actions represent an appropriate application of the Moscow prioritization technique. Remember to limit your answers to the number of selections requested in each question. So here is a question type wherein they ask you to choose 2 answers. So now you need to get both of them right. If you get one right, the other wrong, you will not get any mark at all. So you need to get both of them right. So the question is, which 2 actions represent an appropriate application of the Moscow prioritization technique by the solution development team? The correct answers are C and E on this particular one. Moving on to the second question. Which 2 actions represent an appropriate application of the Moscow prioritization technique by the project manager? The correct answer for the second one are C and D. Those are the right answers. They represent appropriate application. The third one, which 2 actions represent an appropriate application of the Moscow prioritization technique by the team leader? So the correct answer for this one would be A and B. Moving on to question number 4. Which 2 actions represent an appropriate application of the Moscow prioritization technique by the business analyst? The correct answers are A and B. Now, if you need some detailed explanation regarding the answers, you could look at the answers that are provided over here. Questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they also have given you sections in the official manual. In fact, you could go to the relevant section and catch up on some additional reading if you think it is necessary to close gaps in your thinking. Then we move on to part D of question number 1. So part D, again over here, it is not prompting you to go to any additional information, but you could just use a general scenario and answer the questions about requirements. So again, this is a question where you need to get 2 of the answers, 2 of the options right. So the following questions all contain true statements about the requirements for the catalog needed for the Geneva event, but only 2 statements represent appropriate requirements within the Agile life cycle. So to remember to limit your answers to the number of selections requested in each question. So question number 1, which 2 options describe requirements that would be captured during feasibility? The correct answer is C. C is correct because this is an overall objective of the project and should be defined at feasibility. And E is correct. This is because this is an overall objective of the project, which would be defined at feasibility. The question number 2, again, which 2 options describe the requirements that would be captured during the foundations? The correct answers are A and C. A because the requirement to search the catalog is a definition of what is needed, which would be done in the foundations phase. And C is correct because this is a foundational level requirement describing what is needed. Number 3, which 2 options describe requirements that would be required during the solution development time boxes? The correct answers are A and B. A because in a development time box where a company logo is positioned is fine detail, which would be elicited just before that element of the solution is created. And B is correct because in the development time box, the weight of the paper is again fine detail, which would be elicited just before the element of the solution is created. And we have detailed answers for you over here.